Entering a local restaurant yesterday for a late breakfast. It is a Saturday morning during spring break. The parking lot is full, and people sit waiting for tables to open up. And phones are ringing. Everywhere, phones are ringing. We get to the greeter station, give our name, and find 2 bench seats in the entryway for however long the wait will be. Our low blood sugar levels, no doubt, will drop only further while we wait. We get there at a good time. Other people in groups of 2, 3, 4, or more enter and repeat the ritual of checking in. One of the newly entered couples, outwardly a male and a female of apparent middle age and stout European stock, checks in and takes 2 seats opposite us. The man's navy blue t-shirt has already caught my eye, as it was designed to, but has been difficult to read with him moving. Now that he is seated, the words are clear and strident in red and white capital letters. Christian, white, straight, Republican, unvaxxed, gun owner, meat eater, male. How else can I piss you off today? It really said that. They're available online. It gives me pause. The ever alert spousal unit next to me now turns and whispers, "Did you see the t-shirt?" I avoid eye contact, but nod. It is then that I notice the equally outrageous sartorial contrast of the man's supposed spousal unit. She sports a light gray, long-sleeved, fashionable sweatshirt emblazoned in huge pink capital letters, LOVE. I note this contrast to my own spouse, with whom I then make eye contact and we smile to one another. Many things go through my mind at this point, but many more things do not. Among them, what would Jesus do? Or, I think I'll invite them to sit with us. I suspect that were I to do so, the rest of the day very likely would be filled with great marital tension, perhaps for both couples. As I ponder potential positive conversational angles, part of my mind lands on what I would later learn is also on my spouse's mind, and that is, I just want a quiet breakfast. At which point, our name is called, and we are ushered as if by the hand of Providence to a table for 2. We have spent this month exploring aspects of the theme of trust. Before going on about boundaries and limits, let me paraphrase the caveat from last week of Counselor David Bedrick. Some breaches of trust cannot be fully repaired. You alone will know if a relationship is irreparably broken. Trust yourself to know. And I would add, trust yourself to know your limits. Jennifer, could you bring up the slide, please? This is our title slide for today. Thank you to Wendy for creating this. I wonder what this guy is thinking. Any ideas? Can I make it? How do I bridge this gap? Might as well jump. Give up and go home. Thank you. Why did I wear a suit today? Maybe he already jumped across and needs to jump back again in a suit. Maybe he looks at it and says, nah, I'm good. Thank you. Some boundaries and limits are necessary. If we did not respect, for example, some of the limits of physics, say, or biological or social systems, I don't think there would be a human civilization. Without a sense that enough is enough, the early American colonists might never have gone to war with King George and achieved independence. Without sufficient moral outrage, the United States might not have entered World War II. Bystanders might not have recorded George Floyd's murder. Perhaps no one today would protest or try to stop what the present administration is trying to do. So limits are good. Boundaries are good, except when they're not. They're not, for example, when they impinge on our very personhood, when they deny our own or others' human rights or civil rights, our inherent worth and dignity, or our potential. We spend our whole lives testing life's limits, don't we? Running up against imposed or self-imposed boundaries, looking for ways through or around them. And sometimes we manage to break through or transcend them. Sometimes the Berlin Wall does come down. Sometimes we do cross the aisle and negotiate. Sometimes we allow ourselves to break through our own defenses. In a 1998 Jim Carrey film, Truman Burbank discovers that his entire life has been a reality TV show, The Truman Show. In actual reality, he's been living in a giant artificial world in a studio set. He begins to suspect that something is amiss and eventually discovers the truth. He eventually escapes this fake reality and finds freedom in a metaphorical doorway to a new life. He is transformed by transcending a false boundary. We can find many fictional and non-fictional examples. In today's reading, the Reverend Yvonne Sion shared her experiences with boundaries, first as a child, then as an adult. Transcending boundaries was fun in those days, she wrote. But as I reached adulthood, it became more difficult. More and more, my own fears were with me as I encountered others. More and more, I was aware of the boundaries of race, class, age, and sex. I felt myself cringe, become tearful, become angry, become unwilling to acknowledge my oneness with other people. As she suggested for herself, I think fears often are the boundaries between us and our fellow humans. Often we build more of these boundaries over time, higher and stronger. Often we become more self-righteous and less humble than we were. Truly, as she wrote, today, transcending boundaries is hard work. Today's chalice lighting words by the Reverend Laurel Sheridan called us to take from life its coals, not its ashes, and fan the flames of love and justice. She then asserted an ultimately optimistic Unitarian Universalist vision that there will be no limit to what we can achieve together. But she also mentioned the hard work required to get there, of joining hands and hearts in common endeavor. That's the hard part, isn't it? That common endeavor piece, overcoming our differences, overcoming our fears, actually joining hands and hearts in discerning which boundaries we must respect and which we might transcend. And by transcending them, then finding mutual transformation. I've heard that one definition of the word evil is anything that causes us to be separated from God or a higher power, divine, what have you. If we accept this definition, some of us aren't theists or deists, but if we accept this definition, and if we Unitarian Universalists affirm at least a spark of the divine within each person, then perhaps our forgetting, ignoring, or denying their inherent worth or our interdependence, perhaps we might call this a sin. I invite you to consider what that word means to you. Reverend Sion wrote, sometimes, when I am at my best, I remember that the other I distinguish myself from could be me in another time, another place, another circumstance. Then I remember the words of a colleague who observed that it is my racism, my sexism, my homophobia that I am called to address. So I take a few deep breaths and begin to release the fears that are the boundaries between me and my fellow humans. This morning we are counseled to have more humility, to recognize and deal with our own fears, our own biases, our own less than best selves, to acknowledge our oneness, or at least our interdependence with others, so that the next time we are sitting face to face with a challenge, someone or something we have feared in the past, someone intent on pissing us off perhaps, we might engage more easily with courage, compassion, and curiosity. We explored with our young ones, had they been here, the idea of human agency, of choosing one door among others, magical or mundane. Reverend House Gordon asserted that we often cross mundane-looking thresholds every day of our lives. She wrote, given our lives' reality of constant change, every day we open the same old door again only to step out into a world that is new since the day before. In this way, there is a new world behind every door, waiting for our discovery, if we will only encounter it as such. She is suggesting, I think, that we might approach boundaries, limits, doorways, portals with more curiosity and less fear. And faith communities such as ours could be key to converting our fear into curiosity. The door of a church, she wrote, takes us down a pathway of growth we might never have expected. Opportunities abound. I love this image of what a fellowship, this fellowship or any congregation could be. A place, an incubator, a greenhouse, an arboretum, a diverse, rich experiment, an ecosystem in which we might grow in personhood. Grow in greater self-awareness, greater appreciation, greater curiosity and courage and love, so that we might trust ourselves and one another more fully, and might approach becoming our best selves. This is a place to do that. As we join hands and hearts to serve our new mission statement and the world's needs, let us approach this work with curiosity, courage, and our core value of love. Let's continue to weave our dreams together and to seek peace within and beyond us. Through seasons of struggle and delight, let us remember we are here together, questing together, holding one another through it all. May life bless us, and may we open our hearts to the abundance that surrounds and sustains us. May we find release from that which holds us in bondage to death, loss, or heartbreaking limits. May we journey together toward liberation. May whatever gives us hope, joy, and rebirth claim us, and may we claim it. May it be so.